Creep dive into mystery and conspiracy and deep, dark stuff. Let's dive. 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello. Welcome to Psychic News Report. I'm Thor, and we have Annabelle here with us.
Hi, Thor. How are you today?
Excellent. Today we woke up this morning, crazy video that just got released of P. Diddy. He's been in the news the last few months, but this video was absolutely shocking. Apparently, the video shows an altercation that's taking place in a hotel. And for those of you that haven't seen it, it's absolutely horrendous. And it does not cast P. Diddy in a good light at all. Annabelle, do you have any more to add to this story?
You know, I just want to give a little bit of a timeline for people that aren't really focused on this. So there is an entertainer. Her name's Cassandra Ventura. She was called Cassie. She dated Diddy from 2007 for about a decade. Now, we became really, really acutely aware of what was going on behind closed doors. November 17th, 2023, there was I'm sorry, I apologize. November 16th, Cassie had filed a lawsuit against Diddy that was discussing some DV, some SA. There was some substance abuse. Apparently, she alleged that she had been passed around to some other people and was coerced into that. That with lightning speed, that lawsuit was settled the following day. It was less than 24 hours. Within the next couple of weeks, November 23rd, 2 more women came forward and alleged, again, SA. And it was also filed on the eve of the expiration of the Adult Survivors Act. So that is a New York law that permits victims of SA a 1-year window to file a civil action, regardless of the statute of limitations. So it's really important. Of course, the opposing team said this was possibly a money grab. The alleges are going back into the 1990s. So, I mean, they are going back into the past quite far. November 28th, Diddy stepped down as chairman of the cable television network that he was the CEO of, Revolt, just because there was a lot of blowback. December 6th, 2023, there's another lawsuit that alleges an incident in 2017 when an individual was 17, or I'm sorry, 2003 when the individual was 17, that it was Diddy and 2 more men. Again, substance abuse was alleged. February 26th, 2024, there was a music producer, well-known music producer, who did file a suit saying that he was allegedly SA'd as well. The list is going on and on. That particular lawsuit had many, many details that were shocking, and it really did shine quite a light on things. March 25th, when we got to March 25th, we were all shocked by the search of both of Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami.
Right.
And that was Homeland Security that was in there. Homeland Security is very involved in crosstown traffic situations. I'm trying to use the right vernacular here for our audience. The 26th, Diddy's lawyer said that the raids were excessive, that they were very showy, and there was really very little use for that. That particular attorney is Aaron Dyer. He has said that there is no reason for that excessive show. If you did watch that on any of the videos, you do see that there are 2 individuals laying down in the front yard, and one of those is allegedly Diddy's son. Possibly 2 of them were his sons. Then April 4th, 2024, one of the sons, Christian, who is named moniker of King, there was another lawsuit that alleged a woman that was SA'd on a yacht. that had been chartered by his father. This was filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court April 26th. I'm sorry, this really goes on and on. We get a first pushback from the legal team saying that some of the lawsuits were not, there was no illegal happenings, that they were numerous false, offensive, and salacious accusations. That is a quote. May 10th, Diddy has asked a federal judge to dismiss the December 6th lawsuit. Again, this is, concerning SA with an underage individual. May 17th, we are now seeing the video that brings us up to date. This video where Diddy is attacking Cassie Ventura in a hotel. Now, Popcorn Planet, one of my favorite outlets on YouTube, has said that there was allegedly a $50,000 payoff to someone at the hotel to get rid of those videos. Now, since they come from 2016, which is nearly 10 years ago, 8 years ago, it's very interesting that they're just showing up now. So my question is, holy smoke, is this in his chart? And, I'd like to see if there's anything, whether these allegations are truthful or not truthful. What can he do to kind of correct his path? As a tarot practitioner, one of my jobs is to make sure that I use my skills, my psychic ability to heal and help. And even with some, some terrible things out there, if maybe we can nudge him energetically to do the right thing, it might be kind of interesting. Thor, what did you find in your research of his charts? I'm very curious about that.
So, yes, I have his chart. We're doing a moon chart because I don't have the birth time, but the moon chart is, it's still very useful because the planets are still going to be in the same sign that day. So we're going to take a look at the moon chart. There's a lot of information we can get off of that. I just wanted to add to this, Hollywood for the last couple of years has really been under fire. There's been a lot of allegations out there about the industry, kind of the quid pro quo kind of thing going on. And so this seems to be very prevalent, or at least it's appearing to be somewhat, it's coming to the surface. Let's take a look at P. Diddy. Now his name is, he goes by P. Diddy, but his name is Sean Combs. Let's take a look at the chart here. And let me get my pen here. One of the things I want to point out with this chart is we're going to look at some of the planets. He's got like 3 debilitated planets, and then he's got 1 exalted planet. So this is, and I look at a lot of charts. This is a rather unusual chart. So for example, Saturn over here, it's debilitated. We got Mars over here, which is exalted. Okay. We have Sun over in Libra. This is debilitated. And then we have Venus in the sign of Virgo. This is debilitated. So, I mean, just having these planets, it's just like these extreme energies. This already gives us some indication of some of the karma of P. Diddy. Like what are some of these karmic influences? Now, remember, the planets, when we're looking at a chart, they can influence your personality. These are essentially samskaras, or thought patterns from past lives. That's why there's some continuity between lives. So if you have a certain mind stream, it's kind of following you from life to life. So for example, the Mars in the sign of Capricorn right there, it shows somebody who's very aggressive. Okay, very aggressive. They might be somebody that they have the use of force might be very much in their repertoire. Okay, so Mars is like exaggerated right there. So this is somebody who's not afraid to back down from a fight. Like for example, I heard that whenever they're with the previous case, he settles really quick. He goes in there really aggressive. Okay, so that's Mars. Mars is like, I want to just conquer things. I want to come in there aggressive. Now, Saturn being debilitated here, I want to point out this. There's a lack of understanding about consequences with this energy. It's almost like it's like you're not fully calculating that there's consequences, that society has these rules that you're really supposed to follow. That's the problem when you have a very strong Mars over Saturn is that you can be somewhat of a rebel. You're going out there kind of just doing whatever you want, but you have no association with the law. So for example, and I'm not, this is just all alleged for entertainment purposes only about P. Diddy, but you'll see a lot of people that end up in prison. They'll have a very strong Mars, and then their Saturn will be very weak because they just kind of go out into society, do whatever they want, and then eventually the law catches up with them. Sun debilitated right here. This is going to show us the power issues. He's really trying to learn how to use power in this lifetime. Sometimes when Sun is debilitated, it could show somebody, and this is not a diagnosis, but it could show somebody with extreme narcissism, bullying behavior. That's all when you have debilitated Sun. The Sun is one of those planets. You could be a bully, or you could be this enlightened leader. It just depends on its planetary dignity, which in the sign of Libra, it's debilitated. We got Venus there debilitated in the sign of Virgo. This is going to show us there's a lot of negative karma with romantic relationships. Obviously, Venus is our sense of give and take. So when we get into a relationship, if you have a strong Venus, you're going to be somebody that you want to give and take equal energy with your partner. You want to be diplomatic with your partner. With this kind of chart, it could be a, my way or the highway kind of relationships because Venus is debilitated right there. So this is what we're getting a lot now about the near future, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening right now after Annabelle does her read. But for right now, let me just leave you with this: Saturn's going through the 7th house, which could show a lot of legal issues that are happening at the moment. And when Saturn's going through the 7th house, these are legal issues that are not resolved till Saturn leaves the 7th house, and that's going to be in March of 2025. So this could show a lot of legal battles going on from now to then. We'll also take a look after Annabelle does a read. We'll look at also apparently people don't know where P. Diddy is, so we'll also talk about what I see in the chart as far as that goes as well.
Sure. Thor, that was incredibly informative. I have a question before we go over to my read, though.
Sure.
With that dominance in relationships with him, nature versus nurture, astrologically, do we get that fertile ground where he's just going to be more demanding in relationships as a result of his development and work, or is that just something that he's born with?
Well, this is kind of interesting when we talk about nature versus nurture. So you're born with a certain, astrological predisposition. Okay. You're born, like for example, they know that 2 twins raised in the same family could have radically different personalities.
Mhm.
So it's both of them are actually karma. So it's
Okay.
interesting. So you have your karmic tendencies, which come to you from lifetime to lifetime. So like if you were a really bad person in a previous lifetime, you're probably going to have those tendencies in the current lifetime because there's a momentum to those mental tendencies that you have.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're going. It's very difficult to go from sinner to saint within one lifetime. There's a lot of development that needs to take place. The other thing I want to point out is when we talk about nurture, your family background, like what kind of family and culture you're born into is also determined by karma, believe it or not. So
Okay.
if you're born into a supportive family that's really nurturing you, giving you a lot of validation, that's actually going to be shown in the 2nd house of your chart. So it's actually both. So if you think
Okay.
about it, there's always paradoxes. So it's this whole idea of, is there fate or free will? Yes, there's both. Well, is it nature or nurture? It's both, but they're also both linked to karma.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good reason for people to have their chart done. As yeah, you can go to thorsandalwood.com and get a
Absolutely.
reading with Thor. I absolutely recommend that. But also, you can tap into, and we're both psychics, Thor's an astrologer, but he's also a very gifted psychic. He also reads cards. He, does divination just the same way I do. But it's so important because you can learn how to maneuver around those I want to say non-negotiables astrologically and karmically. You can learn how to kind of develop that and not just be a passenger on your karmic journey. You can kind of motivate yourself. So that's kind of the spin that I'm going into with this reading. So I want to see what his terrestrial disposition is right now, even though we don't know where he is. So I'm going to pull up my card view and I will lay out some cards in just a second. So, oh, the 10 of Wands, it's all too much. And the 5 of Pentacles in reverse, Judgment upright, the High Priestess, Chariot in reverse, up top, dominant energy, the Devil has arrived. And under the surface, we have the Page of Wands. So, and I'm using today the Phantasma Tarot. Thor and I were discussing right before the show what we were going to use as tarot cards, and this is the one that popped up. So current disposition, this 10 of Wands, he's feeling a lot of pressure in a lot of different directions. So I think, if he is hiding out right now, if he is in some place of concealment, that's getting a little bit difficult. The communication, I think, is also being a little bit difficult, even though the Wands really are industry and passions and work related. I'm getting intuitively that the communications are becoming a little bit difficult. They're a little concerned about cell phone usage, VPN usage, that kind of thing. I think they're really trying to use those VPNs to hide locations so that he can't be triangulated by the people that are looking for him. This 5 of Pentacles in reverse. Now, in tarot, our even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8 are very stable energies. When we get to the odd numbers 3, 5, and 7, we get into a little bit more chaotic and shifting energies. And, there either movement or chaos on those. When we get them in reverse, it is being either stuck or being at the tail end or the beginning end of it. This, I feel like the chaos is just stuck. He is spending a lot of money to keep himself concealed. He's spending a lot of money to keep things at bay. He's really holding them back. And all the while, he is cast out. He is on the outside of the whole situation. Judgment is looming. I do think that the people in the inner circle, he is surrounded by loyalists, if you will, but I think those people on the inner circle, this isn't really what they signed up for. They're not quite on board with having their whole life turned upside down, and now they're all hiding out and not sure where to be. There are some moral decisions that are being made by the entourage that's with him currently. Blood relations aside, we're not talking about any of the children or close family, blood related family, but the people that are there strictly out of loyalty. There are some judgments that are going on, and there are some people that are kind of thinking about jumping ship. It really does seem that there is some trouble here. You're hitching your cart to one that's possibly going to the bottom of the ocean. However, the movement is very difficult for those individuals. These loyalists that are with him, they are having a lot of trouble trying to extricate themselves from the situation. Their contacts and communications are extremely limited, and it doesn't feel like they have a lot of liquid cash. They're being told not to use their credit cards, not to use their devices, and to lay low. If you're going to be here with me, you're going to go down with me. It's really a very, very powerful energy here, not enemy. Up top, the devil is connection. It is connection, even if it's not good for you. So I think when all of this started, a lot of fun, I shouldn't say a lot of fun, a lot of chaos, a lot of drama that was involved, and everybody kind of ran for the border, pardon the pun. They're kind of stuck there now. All of this entourage, this support team that he has with him. Under the surface, there are lots of people that are trying to find a way out of this, but it seems very tedious and very pedantic, if you will, like they're really kind of castle building. And well, what if we did this? Well, what if we did that? What if we bought an island in this place and we just went there? What if we bought it with a shell company and we could just go and hide out there and spend the rest of our days there and eat coconuts and bananas? It's really, yeah, they're like really coming up with some wild ideas. So it seems that the troops are not really cooperative. Um, like I said, let's see what he can do to right the ship, right the wrongs. What should he
It
do?
has a feeling of like almost a cult, under siege.
Yeah,
Like
it,
there's this the leader with the followers, and they're all kind of
yeah,
that's the energy I'm getting with this.
it
Like
feels a little
we're
Waco-ish.
under
I'm just gonna
siege, and
say,
we're kind of like, what's the game plan here? How are we going to
yeah.
respond to this?
So, so let's see what he can do to right the ship. What should he do to right the ship and do the right thing? So we've got the Death card in the upright, 10 of Pentacles, Sun in reverse, the Emperor card, and 10 of Cups in reverse, the Queen of Wands in reverse, and 3 of Cups under the surface. So the Death card and the 10 of Pentacles together. I hate to say it, but it's time to hang it up. It's time to
Call it a day.
say, yeah, it's time to call it a day. It is really just kind of the end of the road.
The end of the road here, yeah.
And again, for entertainment purposes only, I put up our banner for a second. It's not the outcome that he wants. This is not going to be the retirement that he wants. But if he does not do that, we're looking at a very, very different end, in my opinion. I know I just referenced the Waco situation. It very much kind of feels like there's a trajectory that is steaming toward a more dramatic ending.
Okay, so we're kind of going down a more dangerous road, you think?
I think
The
so.
possibility, the potential is there.
I think there is a potential for this to get very desperate. And this 3 of Cups under the surface tells me that possibly escape hatches, substance escape hatches, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
with unaliving oneself are possible. Now, because it's a 3 of Cups, and 3 of Cups is typically a joyous card. I just want to say that intuitively, I'm getting that this can be an excess card. Like we're having a great time and kind of, devil may care kind of milieu, if you will. This is, let's go down playing the violin like on the Titanic. This is, if I'm going to go out, I'm not going to do it in, issued, jumpsuit and in a steel cage. I'm going to
Okay,
do it
so
on
this
my
is
own.
kind of really doomsday thinking. That
Yeah, doomsday thinking, but I'm going to go out on top of it all. I'm going to be mad because I did have it all at one time. I was the
yeah, it's a
emperor.
little bit of a narcissistic vibe there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm very curious, Thor. How does the chart look in the next year or so? Do you see any possibility for him looking for an escape hatch for himself?
Now let's go ahead and I'm going to pull up the chart. Now the downside about not having a birth time is for example, we don't have the dashas, the planetary timeline, but what I
Mhm,
do have, so we know there's legal troubles for the next year with Saturn going through the 7th house. The other thing I want to point out, I do want to talk about the eclipses. Since we're just looking at transits, we have to just kind of go by the transits without having the planetary timeline.
mhm.
So I'm going to talk about the eclipses. Because the eclipses, not only did they just happen in March and April, which is really influencing this situation with the video, but they're going to reoccur in September and October. So those eclipses are going to kind of give us a trajectory. Now they're going to be in the same houses, the eclipses. So it's still going to be affecting this axis right here. So both in March 25th, we had the eclipse, we had April 8th eclipse, and then in September and October, it's going to be in the same houses and signs here. So with P. Diddy, we have the recent eclipse that happened in the 8th house. In the 8th house, let me tell you, it has to do with scandal. It has to do with obsessions. It even can represent, and let me give you some worst case scenarios here, because there's always, when we're looking at something, there's always kind of the more benign interpretations. For example, a benign interpretation of the 8th house could represent something shocking, but also it could represent your reputation going down in disgrace. So if you think about someone being disgraced, that's 8th house. So eclipse just happened in 8th house for moon. The other thing we could see, eighth from moon, by the way, can also represent moving house, like changing the location where they live. Now, it's not going to give me any specifics of where exactly he's living, but it does show like changing location. Being literally, this can be the house of like literally fleeing from your house and setting up shop somewhere else. The other indication I want to give with the 8th house, because there's a lot of different meanings here, it can represent things like bankruptcy. So if this goes to these court cases and these things go to extreme levels, it can represent this. Now, I have heard he's quite a businessman, and he has a reputation of being actually a fairly good businessman. So, he probably is going to set up various protections, LLCs, different things that's going to make it very difficult. But the 8th house can show some sort of financial damage. Okay, whether it can show a bankruptcy happening somewhere, whether that's a strategic bankruptcy. Hey, we're going to bankrupt this, move it over here. Whether we're going to play the shell game here, definitely shell games can be played with the 8th house. But a K2, in the other thing, let me bring it up one more time. The eclipse is happening in the, I'm not drawing on the chart. Hang on a second. The eclipse is happening on this side of the equation. There's a loss of personal assets. I do want to say that. So there could be a move, loss of personal assets, definitely a loss of reputation. And I think we already know that. I think the reputation is already, for example, we all remember what happened with R. Kelly. The expose, the documentaries that come out. I mean, we're probably going to get another Netflix documentary on P. Diddy with all the witnesses, and this might be playing out over the next year or two. He's already on that path of the 8th house of disgrace. Okay, so even if he legally can somehow maneuver out of this situation, get some settlements, there is still a loss of reputation taking place. And some things you cannot recover from. There's some loss of reputation that it's permanent, just like you saw in your card reading.
Yeah. So Thor, one of the things that we had talked about possibly doing a remote view on this, but I did get some intuition that I think I may know where he is. Yeah.
All right.
I think we'll discuss that a little bit more after this and perhaps another video. What do you say?
Yeah, we might have to ask, where in the world is P. Diddy right now?
Yeah, I think I zeroed in on him. Initially when his private jet had arrived at a number of different stops and he was not on it, and there was some discussion as to what was happening with that. I thought I knew where he was then, but I one of the things in remote viewing is we do set aside some preconceived ideas. And I apologize. Raven has a lot to say about it. So I did have some preconceived ideas in remote viewing. We do have to do a set aside process where we set aside those preconceived ideas. So I had really taken a step back from that initial remote viewing that I wanted to do in the days after he disappeared. Now I feel like I have some clarity of mind. I think I have an idea of where he is. So we'll do that video coming up in the next week or so and discuss it a little bit more, and we'll look more into his chart. I think that's going to be very, very exciting.
Perfect. Sounds like more videos that we're going to be having on PNR. Make sure you check out all of our other videos. Of course, as a reminder, we have our live streams on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you're watching those. And then we also have the videos we release, which are featurettes with just ongoing stories throughout the week. Please comment down below. Let us know what you think about this story. Let us know what you think about P. Diddy and this whole situation. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Thanks so much. See you guys soon.